Hey there, my name is Casey and we're out here at the Collins Aerospace Flight Operations Department. And we're in front of the Challenger 604 with ProLine Fusion installed in the cockpit. We're going to climb up on board the aircraft and take a look at that today with test pilot George Palmer. So let's get to it.
Okay, welcome aboard the Challenger 604 Fusion cockpit here at Collins Aerospace. As you can see, we've got three large displays where everything's integrated into the displays compared to the 6 displays CRTs that was before and the 2 CDUs down here. So it really replaced all those with just 3 displays. They're nice large displays that you see in front of us here. 2 PFDs and a multi-function display in the center display. What's nice about it is, and then we have down below here, we have 2 cursor controls, and then there's 2 alphanumeric keypads, which we'll go through here in just a little bit. So if we start onto the primary flight display on the co-pilot side here, and I'll take the cursor and I'll bring the cursor over here, and you can see I can move the cursor anywhere around here I want. It also has a tab wheel right below the top where you can tab it between the different functions and select whatever function that you want. But also what we can do is we can touch anything. And touch, if I touch here, you'll see all of what we call hotspots light up, and a pilot can touch into any of those areas. And initially we thought the cursor and the tabbing feature was going to be the primary way of interacting with the displays, and what we found, pilots would do almost anything to use the touch, because what happens with the touch, you don't really need to know anything as far as hidden menus or anything like that. You just simply touch the area that you want to change and it'll bring the menu to you. So if I want to change something with airspeed like V-speeds or something, I can touch it and it brings just that menu. No other menus. I don't have to go on down into menus. That's all I can do with that area. Same thing if I touch over here where the active nav source. Notice it brings just that menu, and I can change it from FMS1 to FMS2 or FMS2 to FMS1. If I want to touch down here into the HSI area, change what one of the overlays are there, I can do it that easy. So it makes it really nice. Pilots really are compelled to go ahead and do the touch on the display. On the multifunction display, you can touch any place. There's nothing that's a hot spot. So what's nice here, and I've got the airplane on the ground here at Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We're in the hangar here. And there's no flight plan in here. So if I touch onto a waypoint like Bradford down here, which is BDF, which is a VOR, it's not even actually a waypoint yet. Notice it brings the menu that I can do with that point. And I can tune the nav since it's a VOR. I can center the map and get information about Bradford. Or I can simply go direct to it. So if I do direct to it, you see it draws a course line. If I execute that, I entered it into the FMS and then into the flight plan that easy. Now if I go back to Bradford and select Bradford again, notice it changes the menu that it brings to the pilot. So it makes it easy to understand for the pilot what he can do with there. There's nothing else he can do. This is everything he can do. So from the bottom half is exactly what was before, but here at the top we have direct to again if I was already flying. A reroute, which I'm going to show you here in a minute, a delete, airways, a hold at that point, a flyover, crossing, vertical crossing at that constraint, whatever you want. But what's nice here is if I want to do a reroute, and after Bradford, I'm going to go here to Joliet, and then Northbrook, and then up here to Badger, and I execute it, I entered all those points in the flight plan that easy. So it's exactly where you touch. You can see exactly where you're changing the flight plan. If it comes up and they say hold at Bradford, I can select Bradford and I can see the hold here and I select the hold. It's going to bring up a normal FAA hold with right-hand turns and all that. I can change it if I want, but if I don't, I just execute it and there's the hold in there that quick. Now, if after Bradford, I'm going to clear this hold out of here. Hold's gone that easy. Now, if after Cedar Rapids, they say, hey, let's go direct Joliet, I can simply delete this waypoint by simply selecting delete, executing it. Notice it shows the changes before I do it, and it's changed that quick. So it's heads up, no down to a buried CDU to figure out how do I have to copy and change the waypoints around. It's simply, this is what I want to do. It's that easy to do and all that. So it makes it extremely easy. Plus, I can move the map any place I want. I just simply touch it, grab it, keep my finger on it, and move the map wherever I want. I can, when it's off to a certain point, I can hit center aircraft, and it comes right back to it. I can also change the range out as far as to 1,000 miles, or back down. The other really nice feature here is, and we're going to do it on the center here, let's say today I'm going down to Orlando, Florida. So I want to see what the weather is there, and I want to do some flight planning down there. But I don't want to do all this moving the map and changing the ranges and stuff, so I can hit center here. And then I'm just going to simply type in Orlando, which is K-O-R-L. Paste that in there, and now we're in Orlando. So now I can see the weather in Orlando, see what's going on there, and I can even bring up the next rad here, and there's not too much weather down there right now, but I can actually look at the weather, see if there's any weather down there, and what I need to go around it. I can move it out, change the flight planning. If after that last waypoint I wanted to go Orlando, I could simply select Orlando, and it would be into the flight plan. And then when I'm ready to go back to Cedar Rapids, I hit center aircraft, and we moved it back to Cedar Rapids. As you can also see, I've overlaid, and we were going to talk about this in a second, but I'll do it now. You can see that I've overlaid the weather, the Sirius XM weather automatically onto there. So we're going to go over here, these features on the top, and what we can do with the map. So we've got heading or north up, pretty self-explanatory. We have a little nav window that comes up, does the lateral constraints on the left, vertical constraints on the right, destination, time to go or distance to go, estimated time of arrival, fuel, and landing weight. So I'm going to select this window up here. It's going to give both lateral navigation to it, waypoints, and vertical waypoints there, and all the information for those. When I don't want that, I can close that down. The overlays are here. You saw that we had the Sirius XM, data link weather, actual weather from the radars on there. We can get all these features, so we can hit times out after 8 seconds here, so you have to bear with me a little bit. So I can do lightning, METARs, SIGMAs, satellite, winds aloft, and I can get all that information there and do the reports for that area or for the different waypoints. So that's all there on overlay, and the symbols is here next. And the symbols, you see all this stuff that you can put onto the map. So like if I select special use airspace, for example, and this is, you can automatically come up here. Here's Howard MOA, and I select on it, and it gives me both MOAs, and it shows me what the MOA from the altitudes from 9,000 up to basically 18,000 feet. So you can interact and change with it. If I bring up the, I'll shut that off so it won't get in the way, and I'll put, let's say, obstacles up. And the obstacles are here. I'll drop the range down just a little bit. There we go. And you can select one of the obstacles. It's got 2 towers out there. They're both at 2249. It's lighted and gives the information about it. Again, we're doing things heads up. We're not going heads down. We're not having to go to someplace, bring up a hidden menu. It's very easy to see and operate and get to the information you want. Okay, I'm going to shut those back off just to kind of do away with the clutter. You can see all the items on here that you can add: airways, estimated time arrival, NDBs, low navs, high navs, nearest airports and airports. Just every airport, you can select them and actually get the information and the frequencies and stuff on each of those airports. So a lot of information, good information, and it's all just a fingertip away and all that. So we're going to go back now into some of the windowing structure here. If you notice here, the PFD is moving just a little bit. Like I said, we are in the hangar here, and the GPS kind of comes and goes a little bit, and that's what it's basing the information as far as the ground is. So if you see that moving, that's just simply because we're in the hangar here. So I can take this display, and we're going to change it by changing the windowing around. If I select here and split the PFD, so if I select here, you know, it says FMS, and if I want a chart there, I simply just drag and drop the chart there. And now we got the chart here for the Cedar Rapids Airport, and it's got the airplane on it where we're at here in the hangar. And I can move this around, and I can zoom in and out on that, and I'll show you that again a little bit better here coming up. So now we got a half window here. we got the HSI and ADI here in a half window, and I can select here again, and I can go to 2/4 windows. Now you notice these are inverse video, these are highlighted, that's what'll fit in a 1/4 window. So I got systems and checklists, and let's say, and again it's going to time out after 8 seconds, so you got to bear with me here, but I want the tune in here in the lower section. I just drag and drop it, and there's the RTU page along with the checklist here. And I can toggle through the checklist with either using the cursor or we have a button here on the side. Now what's nice here is all the windows will either fit, as you see, in either a half window or a 1/4 window on all the displays. And I'll show you this on the MFD here in a second. Since everything fits into a half and a 1/4 window, even when the system, you lose a display and you get down to one display, since the windows are either 1/4 window or a half window and you have access to it, you can be down to one display and you can maintain full functionality of the cockpit. So in other words, I mean, you've not lost anything even by losing 2 displays. You've still got the same functionality, and there's no new learned steps or anything to learn because it's the same stuff that you do every day, which makes it really easy in the most stressful situations of losing a display or something. So I'm going to put this back to full, and we're going to go here to the MFD. And on the MFD here, you're going to see we got 2 halves, 2/4 and a half, and then you can also do 1/4 windows on all of it. So now we've got all these items here that we can get into and do, and I'm just going to close this down here. One of the other things I wanted to show you, I know this is pretty busy with 4 1/4 windows here. There's always probably more menus on one of these pages, and we didn't really want to bury them, so the pilot had to go, okay, well, there's a little hidden area here where I could get into it, or I have to go down here and hit menu or stuff. So we came up with this, what we call toolbar down here. And what's nice about this toolbar is wherever the cursor is, any extended menu for that area will appear down here. Now RTU, there is nothing, but if I go here to systems, notice how the toolbar filled in here. So right now we're just straight, if I want DC electrical, I can select it, AC, flight controls, hydraulics, can be changed that easy. And when I go up here to checklist, notice the toolbar changes to just the checklist, and that you can select whatever you want to change in the checklist. Same thing if you go to the map. If I go to the map, now I can add it, change it from relative or topographical to relative to off, whatever. Everything is on that toolbar that you can do with that area. So again, you're not hunting for menus or something that's hidden from you as a pilot and stuff. So I'm going to go back here to the full map. And now we're going to go through these 9 quick access keys on the alphanumeric keypad. One of the things here we do is, even though the windowing that you saw here is pretty simple and straightforward, and there really isn't anything confusing to it and all that, but you're flying along and you want to get something right now and you don't even want to move the cursor stuff, we have these 9 quick access keys. And I really recommend the pilots use these keys because it just automatically brings the information to you. So you got a map button, which will switch it to 4 1/4 to 2 halves to back to full. You have a chart button that'll bring up the chart, and you can select it again. It'll go full view, and you can change it to portrait here, and you can zoom that in. So you can imagine on arrival or something where you're trying to read it, you can do all that. You got a cast window. I'll get rid of that. You can press cast window, open up the window, the cast window, to see additional cast messages and stuff. Now that will automatically open if you're flying along and you fill up the 4 below. It'll automatically open if it's a caution or a warning. But the pilot can open and shut it whenever they want to. We have FMS, and I'll come back to the FMS window here. We have a direct to button, which will let us go direct to lateral or vertical constraints. We have a departure arrival button, which you press it once, you're going to get the departure. Press it again, you're going to get the arrivals. Checklist, bring up the checklist. Systems, it's just like we saw before. Again, you can even keep pressing the button and go through the system, so you don't even have to go to the toolbar. And then we have tune and data link. Tune brings the RTU. Press it again, and we're going to get a fans window. Press it again, we're going to get a CPDLC window or data link window. And we'll kind of go into that a little bit more here, but that's basically what we're going with these 9 quick buttons here. Notice here on the tune page, this is simply like an old RTU. If you want to change something, you can select it manually or with the cursor. If you're flying along and they say contact center on 133.5, you can go 1335, and you can put it in the preset, paste it in there, switch it, just like that. The other really nice thing is, if you're back to the knobs and stuff down here on the cursor control device, you'll notice up here on the display, wherever this cyan box is, you can change the frequency just like you did on even the windows before the RTU. So you can change the frequency and switch it between 1 and 2. There's a 1 and 2 here that'll actually change it to COM 1 or COM 2 radio here. One of the other nice things is you really don't have to use any of that anymore, because we have what we call a quick tune button, which is right here. Very, very nice feature. I tell people to try it twice. They never go back. Everybody's loved it so far. So you're flying along and they say contact Chicago Center on 132.8. You simply type in 1328. You see it appear here, and you hit quick tune. Now it's going to appear in this toolbar, and notice it knew it was a COM frequency, and we wanted on COM 2, the active, and I tuned it just that quick. So right at the fingertip, if you want to put a VOR, change it to a VOR, you can simply press in, let's say 116.2, quick tune. It knows it's not a COM frequency. It knows it's a NAV or a transponder ADF, and I can tune the number 2 VOR to 116.2 that quick. Same thing with the transponder. If I do 2545 and quick tune, it knows, again, it might be a COM or transponder, and I select it, and it changes the transponder that quick. So that's really nice features with that button and all that. If you wanted to ident, you can simply hit I, quick tune, and then you'd press the ident here, and you'd automatically ident. So a lot of nice little features with that and all that. Now, as we get back here, we're going to go back into FMS here real quick. I'm going to select this back up, and we'll start over here on plan. Now, rather than 20-some pages in your FMS today, there's really only basically 3 pages in here, and everything is integrated. It still operates like the FMSs that you're used to in the ProLine system and all that. The way it operates, the way the functions work are the same. It's just they integrated all the stuff together, so it makes it kind of a one-place shopping. Notice it comes up with flight plan here. It's got a really nice feature here, load store. You can file your flight plan, whoever your provider is, go to data link here, and just put in the letter and the 4 numbers here and send it. Now we're in a hangar, so we can't send it, but it would automatically send it off. It's going to try VHF first. If it can't get VHF, it'll go to satellite automatically and do it that way. It'll come back, load it into the secondary. It'll say flight plan received, and then all you have to do is go to secondary and activate it, and it's done, and your flight plan's in there that quick. If we want to build a flight plan, though, from the scratch, we start across here. So we got origin. We can do estimated time departure if you want. Altitude, we'll say we'll go to 28,000 feet today. We're going to go up to Minneapolis, let's say. Put the destination, and Minneapolis, KMSP. And then we're going to execute that. And I always tell people, if you're happy so far after a couple of inputs, go ahead and hit execute, because what happens is if you make a mistake and you have to cancel it, you're going to wipe out everything back to the last execute. So if you get a couple into it and you're happy, just execute. It only takes a second. So departure for coming off Cedar Rapids today, they're using runway 27, so we'll select runway 27 there. And we're going to say there's no departures SIDS out of here, so we're going to actually change the flight plan around. So first thing we're going to do is we got departure 27 there, and we're going to look at the arrivals into Minneapolis, and there should be a Casper 7 here with a Waterloo transition, and we'll execute it that quick. So we don't know what airport we're going to get up, or what runway we're going to get up there at Minneapolis, and we'll save that to when we get there. So we've got this flight plan in here. We got the arrivals and the distance, but you notice our flight plan's kind of goofed up here a little bit. So how do we get that straightened up? So what we're going to do here is we're going to change the map around so we can see what we're doing. So we're going to go Cedar Rapids, direct Waterloo, the waypoint. direct to it, execute it. We got rid of all the old junk, and now we're going just as we're filing. So now if we go back to FMS here, and we look at the legs page here, or the fly window as it's called here, notice all that's cleaned up going straight into there. So it's that easy to do. So we've got all that. We go with weight and fuel. We put the fuel on board, and full performance is here already, so it's just not in the airplane right now as of today. But full performance with all the V-speeds and stuff are already complete and done. We just had to switch the software back here just for this demo and all that. So that's all done, and so we can load all the V-speeds in at the same time and everything, and we're ready to go fly. It's that simple. Now, you notice here on this fly window, it's just like the old legs list, and I'm going to expand this out a little bit so you can see everything. If we have a crossing restriction, and let's say we're told to cross Casper here at 12,000 feet, I can put 12,000 feet on here and make it an at constraint. We'll execute that, and it's done that quick. So there's Casper, there's 12,000 feet at Casper, and our top of descent is right there just outside of Jago, so we're ready to start the descent when we come into there. Now, anytime on any arrival, there's a point where a descent point that says cross at, doesn't say expect to cross at, but actually says cross at, the FMS will automatically, just like your older systems on the Proline 21, will automatically fill that altitude right into there for you. You don't have to touch it. But if it does say expect, then you're going to probably have to enter it manually. So we loaded the flight plan. We have it in here. We can see all the different waypoints as we come up. If we need to, we can go back to that fly window or the legs page, which people are kind of like they're used to seeing and all that. But remember, we have this window here that we can bring up, and it's going to list all the waypoints, and all the vertical constraints are here. So it's going to give you the information on a little tiny window rather than bringing up an entire page. But it's up to the pilot, whatever they would like. And then when you're ready, when you're done with it, you can switch it back. And you can change anything. If they end up saying cross Jago at 17, for example, you can do a crossing here at it. And I'll put in 17,000. And I'll execute that. And there it is. And it's moved our top of descent back before Jago there. Now what's nice is notice we're not going down to a CDU, going through, finding the right pages. We want to do something with Jago. We touched it. We saw what we could do. We changed it. We executed it, and we were done. Heads up. Situational awareness is fantastic with these displays. So it makes it really easy to see and understand what you're changing and how you're changing it and the results of what you do change and all that. So we're going to go back to the center of the airplane here. Okay, so we got our flight plan going on at Cedar Rapids here, or up from Cedar Rapids to Minneapolis. And I kind of want to show you what we call approach feathers and how they work. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the nearest airports here to Cedar Rapids, which comes up in cyan, or into magenta here. And what I'm going to do is we're going to say we're coming off of Cedar Rapids and we lose an engine and it's below minimums. We can't get back in. So where are we going to land? It immediately comes up, shows the nearest airports by touching the nearest airports there. It's set up per the airplane, so on this one airplane, it's anything, the runway's got to be over 5,000 feet or it won't display it. And if I just simply move the range down to 50 miles here, and this works for the destination. It would have worked up at Minneapolis, but I wanted to show you this feature also. Whenever you move it below 50 miles in the range, you come up with these approach feathers. If they're filled in like this, it's a GPS approach or a non-precision approach. If it's open on the feather, it means it's an ILS. And if it's an ILS, and you select it, it's going to do just like you did in Proline 21. It's going to set the frequency for you. It's going to do the inbound course, the switch over and all that. It's exactly like you're used to in your Proline 21. The only difference on this system is if you come down, you hit go around. When you hit go around, it'll automatically take it back out of pseudonav if you're on an ILS, and put it back into FMS for you and bring up all the missed approach procedures and stuff, which is really nice if you really had to go around at 200 feet or wherever. So we take off at Cedar Rapids. It was below minimums. We lose an engine, and we're going to go up here to Monticello. And so the winds are kind of out of the west, northwest. So we're going to select that approach up there. It's automatically, it's an RNAV 3.3 and a vectored approach, and we're going to execute that. Now notice it took out all the flight plan going all the way up to Minneapolis. It just put the approach into Monticello down here. And if I select FMS here, it automatically changed that to the destination, put all the new flight plan in there. And if I hit chart and I select destination, it's going to automatically come up with the airport, and then I can select GPS 3.3 approach, which is what we selected. So it changed. Not only did it take out all the old stuff, it actually, on the FMS, it actually changed the destination for us. It inputted the new approach in there. It also changed the charts and everything, so instantly you'd have the charts. So you can imagine if a really bad situation like that, where you took off and you lost an engine, and you're like, okay, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Bang, there it is. And the automation changes exactly what you want changed, nothing more. It just is changing exactly what you need to be doing in that emergency situation. So I wanted to show you that and to show you, again, if we were going into Minneapolis there, you would see all the approach feathers, and you could simply select one and then have the approach come in. So it's always working. The other thing that I was trying to bring up here, but we're not in the right area to see it and all that stuff, on the PFD, on the airport there, it's going to show a dome over the top of the destination airport and the alternate airport. But here, it would show it at the destination of Monticello, and that dome is line of sight. So the higher you are, the sooner you're going to see the dome. The lower you are, it's going to take a little bit more time. But the dome, as you come in, is going to, once you select a runway, it's going to show an extended course line from it, 10 miles, 5, and 3 miles with tick marks on it, doing that. So you can look out, see exactly how the approach is going to be, how you're going to come around and all that. And then as you come in on final and you turn it on final, the dome is going to fade away. The runways are all going to appear. All the runways will appear. And the runway you're going to land on will be highlighted. So, I mean, if you put the right approach in there and they got the right runway, it's going to show you exactly what runway you're landing. And I like to say it made the cockpit VFR, because it is literally like looking out the window. You can see the airport out there. You can see exactly where it is. As you're coming around and doing the intercept, you can see it. When you turn on final, you see the tick marks. You see the dome disappear or fade away, and then the runway appears. And when you land, that runway will be dead center, full range between here and here. And if you land and you're left of center line out the window, you'll be left of the center line here. It's very exact, very, very good system. And you just cannot beat the situational awareness that it gives you both on the PFD and the MFD. So, along with that, while we're talking to the displays, and when I mentioned to you before that if you're coming in and you lose a display, the system's going to revert, and you would actually be able to still do the quarter and half windows. I wanted to show you one more thing here. We're coming in to land, or we're coming in, well, we're going anywhere actually, and we say we lose the MFD and we'll turn it off. The PFDs are going to auto revert immediately. So you see they automatically drop down here. We got our HSI and ADI. We have the cast window and the gauges here. And then you have your half windows here of your quarter and half. So they automatically auto-revert both on the ground and as you're flying. If you're in the air, the FMS, AHRS, and air data will automatically auto-revert. The latter ones won't auto-revert on the ground because you aren't legal to take off if you lose one of those before takeoff. So, but even on the ground, the displays auto-revert. This is, again, a really nice feature, because how many times do we go to school and we're looking for that switch? They say, okay, that display failed, so revert the display over to the other side. And you're like, okay, do I go left? Do I go right? This one takes all that guesswork out of it. It automatically does it. It's very easy and very easy to understand and do it. So I'm going to switch it back here, back on. We're going to look at some fans solutions here on the systems and on the displays. Jen Johnson with AirRink is kind enough here to help us. She's on the phone and stuff. And what we're going to do is log on to their ground system and stuff, and we're going to give you a demonstration of the way it works and the way the messages come in. So again, the first thing we do is select Tune Data Link here, and it's going to bring us up to the RTU window, and then we press it again, we get to the fans window. And we're going to log on to ARDA, which is their test facility. And I'm just going to paste that in there, and we're going to send it to her.
Okay, and this is November 604 Romeo Charlie?
That's correct.
Perfect, I got you. Okay, so I've received your request, so I'm going to go ahead and accept that request. And the first thing I'll do is I will connect you to ADSC position reporting. And I'm just going to put a periodic contract on you. So
Okay.
come up on the screen. And second, I will go ahead and log you into CPDLC.
Now notice that we have COM, and we've already loaded in the CDA. There is ARDA, which is the AirRink facility. It normally has your whatever you're initially on, and then what your next point will be. For example, when you're out over the ocean, the fur boundaries and all that will display them.
Okay, I'm just typing up a quick route clearance to send you over. And this is going to be from Wichita to O'Hare, and I'm taking you over to Butte and Janesville.
Oh, you mean Cedar Rapids still here?
Cedar Rapids, I'm so sorry. Not
That's
Wichita.
okay. No problem.
Let's see, and that should be on its way over.
Okay, we're going to open that up here on the cast window like we talked about earlier. And you'll see we have an ATC message alert. And I'll close that window down. And now we'll go here to message log. And if we open that, you'll see it's cleared to departure airport, Cedar Rapids destination to O'Hare, route Dubuque, and then JVL. So we're going to load that. It's automatically loaded into our flight plan, into our FMS there. If that's agree what we see there, it says Cedar Rapids to O'Hare, through Dubuque and Jamesville, which is per the clearance, exactly the same that Jen sent us. And then we're going to accept that. And we've got it loaded into the mod state already. And we'll just actually go ahead, and it's ready to operate and do it into the active, just like what we planned. And that's great. That's exactly what we needed. So we'll go back to message log here. And then, Jen, do you want us to request something, or do you want to send something else here? Just this.
I can send you something really fast.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay, so we'll do an altitude. I'll send you one over.
Okay, again we get the ACARS message. And we accepted that. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Okay, it says climb to 35,000 feet, which is fine, and we're going to accept that. It's that simple to go back to the main page here, to the log on page. Again, you just type KUSA in there and hit send. As long as you're within 30 minutes of the departure time, the controller is going to see you log on just like Jen did. She saw us log on into the system and everything, and then he's automatically going to send your flight plan to you. It's going to come across on a message just like you saw from Jen. You accept it, download it, and that's all there is to it. It's very easy to do. If it's earlier or later, you can always do a request for clearance, which is here, which would normally be highlighted, and then you can request it from them. But usually they see it pretty quick, and they'll send it right back to you. So there's not much need for it and all that. The other thing we were talking about, now this is for DCL clearances. For pre-departure clearances, PDCs is what they called. If I select the Tune Data Link button again, notice it comes up with this page, and this is just like the old Data Link window that you had before in ProLine 21 if you had the system. You can receive messages, send messages. You can request a departure clearance. It's got the type, the aircraft number. You put the type in there. You need to put the ATIS in there and the destination station, and you hit send. Now, what the only difference is, it's not going to load it into the FMS like we did with fans. So when it comes back across here and it displays it and we accept it, then we're going to have to bring up the FMS window here and load it right from the window itself and all that, which is not that hard to do and everything, but it's just a different way of doing it. The nice thing is, of course, we can get daylink weather from here, just like you saw before, any place in the world. And you can go in here and request weather, terminal weather, segment winds aloft, or graphical weather, and you can display it on any of the displays. So that's the way the fans window works and the PDC window area works. So that pretty much takes care of flight planning then.